Help yourself to the food, whatever. Please make sure you sign the sign-in sheet.
Lots of carbs.
Chestnut, do you have any forms that are going to be need to be signed afterwards? Okay.
So what do you assume?
What is the password
The
here?
executive session, we don't need to go in it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
We don't have any updates really. So
Okay.
Teacher one?
sure that.
So, okay.
What's the other one?
So it's 12 o'clock on March 1st, 2018. We have a quorum, so we're gonna get started.
English.
Please stand for the pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. So we have 5 items on the action items agenda. The first one is the minutes from our January 11th meeting. We received those on an email. Anybody has any questions or comments about the minutes? We don't have any questions. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes for the meeting? Thank you. Thank you. You get that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So next item is the request for approval to apply for the staff development general waiver.
Do you want me to talk about that? Basically, we've already had this waiver, but first of all, it is expiring, and then second, they've redone. TDA has decided to do the staff development waivers differently. In the past, you applied by day. You said we want 3 days, 4 days, 5 days, to a max of 5 days, and you actually identified how many of those days you wanted. We've always had 3. So in our calendar, when you look at our district calendar, you'll see those days that are between the first day of school and last day of school are those days that we're looking at. What the state basically says is you can have your kids stay home as long as your teachers are here and doing high quality professional development. You can count that as one of your instructional days towards your 180 days. Well, now since the state's gone to minutes, they've changed the waivers to be more in minutes. However, there's the exception of charters. Ours will still remain in days. But we have to file for a whole new waiver, and as part of that, the board has to approve for us to apply for the waiver. So when we get to the next item, which is the calendar, you will see that we intend to utilize those days as we have in the past, 3 of them between the first day of school and last day of school, where the kids stay home and the teachers come for professional development. And those 3 days count towards our 180 days that we are required to have under state law. So really, now instead of saying we want 3 or we want 4 or we want 5, we just say we want staff development days, and we can use up to 5. So this year we may use 3, next year we may use 2. You know, we can use up to 5. Where before, once you said you wanted 3, you were tied to 3 unless you reapplied and said we want 4 or 5 or however many. So really, this is something that we've already had in place. It just has to be renewed. Really don't plan to increase our number of days at this point. We still are going to utilize 3, but we do have the flexibility to use up to 5.
So once we approve that, we don't have to resubmit it every year.
It's not a yearly
Unless it
thing. In the
changes.
past, it's been like 3 years. So we've already applied for it twice in the past. And so now, since they're revamping it and doing a whole new waiver, we're having to do it again. I don't think we would, actually, I don't think it was expiring, but it's expiring because they're basically voiding it and making us start over. So once we do that, it should be good for, I believe, 3 years, and then we would just apply again.
Any questions? We don't have any questions. Do we have a motion to approve the application for the waiver?
I'll make that motion.
We have a second.
Also.
Thank you. Got it. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next item is the request for adoption of the 18-19 district calendar.
So just to kind of give you a little bit of background on the calendar, and each year prior to developing our calendar, we pull several calendars. We pull a calendar, the university calendar. We pull on the 3 largest districts in each of the counties. and Tyler ISD, Longview ISD, Palestine ISD, and try to align to the best of our ability, but also looking at what is best practice for us. We build in additional staff development days. As you can see, we did change a couple of things up this year. Looking at staff development, we're actually going to have our new teachers come back in July to get additional training, or to get basically training. And then in August, we'll have teachers come back again. But we felt the need to split that time up, that it was too much, you know, for a teacher to come and get all the staff development, and then to have to go in and get additional staff development to give a little bit of time. You can have a chance to look to see again how the year is divided up. We tried to keep a lot of things very similar. I think if you went and pulled up other districts' calendars, you're going to see that there is a lot of variance. Some districts are not taking a full week for Thanksgiving. We pulled up a couple districts that, again, are only taking 2 or 3 days there. I think the biggest thing that we saw that's different is the Christmas break. Because Christmas falls on a Tuesday, we saw a lot of different variants here of a lot of schools are not going to close until that Thursday, I think it was the 20th. Most schools are going to let out that 20th, and then they won't have that. They actually won't have 2 full weeks with weekends combined for their Christmas break. So we tried to look at things that we felt like would help our attendance, would help the focus, and so that's why we chose to do that. That you see the staff development days built into the schedule, testing days we took in account.
One of the biggest changes was moving that bad weather day up into April
Yes.
versus it being at the end of the year. Both of them being at the end of the year.
And it's always hard to decide where to put that, because we talked about putting it on Good Friday, but we did that one year and we had a very low attendance. And so, you know, because we had to use the bad weather day, you hope that you don't use it. So we put it there on Good Friday thinking that we wouldn't have to add it to the very end, but we ended up using it. And so again, it hurt our attendance that day. So that it's really always hard to find a placement for bad weather days. We had 2 or 3 different calendar proposals circulating around. The directors had a chance to look at the proposals and give feedback. Administrators had a chance to look at them as well and give feedback on them. We felt like this was the best one of all the ones that we looked at.
This counts for the 180 days of student instruction and 192 days for staff work days.
So the first day students return is the 20th.
Okay, ours is days.
The first day students return would be August the 20th. And the last day of instruction, depending on if we have to utilize the bad weather days, would be May the 31st, correct, Jama?
Yes, May 31st would be last day of school. If we used 1 bad weather day, we would just use that April date. If we had 2 bad weather days, we would
have to go into June.
3rd. Yes.
That's right.
So we're kind of gambling there that hopefully we would only have to use 1 or less.
So the good news is that we would be done before June 1st with this proposed calendar. If when approved, we will post this proposed calendar on the website. We'll send out an email to parents to let them know they can access it so they can begin planning as well. The one reason we do look at the other districts is because we are currently not on all 3 sites, a K through 12 campus, and we still have families that are juggling both school systems. And so if you don't align somewhat, it really, really does hurt you. If you, for example, if you look at if we only had 3 days of Thanksgiving break, and the largest district in that area had a full week of Thanksgiving, I can assure you that your attendance would cost you on Monday and Tuesday of that Thanksgiving week, because parents likely are not going to send one kid to school and one kid's going to stay home. So we try to always take that into consideration.
I'll also point out the green professional development days, October 8th, January 7th, and February 18th align with federal holidays. Columbus Day, No, the January date does not. I'm sorry. The 21st is the Martin Luther King Day, excuse me. But the February is President's Day. And there are schools who have those off. So it kind of works out for us that we can let our kids be off, but we're still here. So so October and February are Columbus Day and President's Day. So that kind of works as well.
So the key to having our July new teachers training that early is recruiting early and hiring, because you definitely you'll be in a situation if you do have to hire someone late to have to provide them additional training. So that's why we've started that process now. Any other questions, concerns, comments?
Do we have a motion to approve the calendar?
I make a motion to approve the calendar.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right,
Next.
Jama, if you want to compile a email to parents to just send that out so that they can have that, because I know several have been asking.
Yes, and I'll post it to the website, and
Yeah.
we're also sending out a newsletter at the end of next week, so it'll be in there.
Okay, good.
So for the policy document, this is a really simple edit. Really all we did was we moved the word employees from the 300.120 policy. Originally, when we approved the 300 and then we approved the 600 back initially 2 years ago, the 600 part, which is all HR related about employees, referenced the 300. And then the 300 is the grievance process and that it goes before the board. And it did mention students, parents, employees, etc. With our new edit to the 600, which you just approved at the last meeting, we basically, in the 600, we said the grievance process is established by the university for employees. And so they don't come to the board. They go through the process of their supervisor, the superintendent, and then it basically goes to HR, and HR handles it from there. Where students and parents, their grievance process is different in that they do go to their campus director and the superintendent, and then eventually it would ultimately come to you. So all we did was in the 300, where it's talking about what is the grievance process in general, we just took off the employee part, because in the 600 module, which is related to HR, it says refer to the university. So really that all we did was take off the word employee. So the 300 policy really only pertains to students, their parents, guardians, and the general public if there's a grievance about our school or about our charter. Where the employee, if they have a grievance, they need to go through the university policies. And so really that's the only difference. And since the 600 specifically referenced the 300, we needed to remove that initially, because it did say that initially, but now we've revamped the 600. So now that reference is no longer valid.
Any questions? Do we have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve the updates to the policy?
I'll make that motion.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We start thinking about the next one. Forget that. Next item is the approval for the 17-18 budget amendment.
This budget is really simple. We're just accepting some federal funds that we received, and I'm expensing them out. And then the other funds, move of funds, is just some monies that we already had budgeted, but they were kind of budgeted in the wrong function for the expense that we needed. So those are just moving the funds around so we can expense the expense in the correct. Any questions?
Do you have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve the budget amendment?
I'll make that motion.
Second? You get that? Who's? I don't know who's taking minutes. She got it? You got it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Carrie.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. The next item, we don't need to go into executive session, but
So basically, we added this to the agenda in the event that we needed to go into executive session to talk about facilities. I will give the board an update at this time. Facilities regarding Palestine are still pending. We have provided the administration at the university all of the required the requested documentations. We've been in ongoing conversations weekly discussing and exploring different options. And so several options have been presented. Recommendations for specific options have been presented. And so at this point, we're really waiting for the university to make a decision or to confirm or select one of the options that have been presented, which will be a decision basically. And once that decision is made, we'll definitely get that communication to you. I'm hoping, I guess I've been hoping for the last couple of weeks that a decision is going to come pretty quickly because we are, as you can see, we've started in, looking at next year and preparing for next year, which means we're looking at what grades are we going to offer, teacher assignments, course options. All of that is impacted by facilities because if we looking at the different options, staying put, we will offer specific grades. In the event that we were to renovate and move back into the old facility, then we would offer different grades. So until a decision is made on Palestine, everything kind of at this point is on hold. As far as Longview, we are considering adding first grade. And so next year, our proposal is that we'll have 1st through 12th grade in Longview. Tyler will have K through 12th. And then again, Palestine is dependent upon the facilities. So again, the reason that I asked for to put this on the agenda in the event that we needed to discuss a decision that had been made in executive session, it would be on the agenda. But there's no decision that's been communicated at this time.
Thank you.
Is there anything that could happen from the community to help facilitate or make this answer come quickly?
I think that we've done everything we can at this point. We've made a very strong position recommendation. I feel comfortable sharing my recommendation is to renovate the old facility, which would allow us to have K through 12th grade students in our district in Palestine. Our 11th and 12th grade students would be at Mathis Hall. Our K through 10th grade students would be in the new facility. So that is my recommendation. And I would, time is ticking, so it's hard for me to say at this point in the event that the recommendation was upheld, if we could make those renovations prior to the start of the school year. A month ago, I was told yes, we could, but as time passes, I'm not able to stand behind what the person said because the person said they needed to know pretty quickly. So again, I feel like we've done everything we can. And when I say we, individuals at the Innovation Academy, as well as key leaders at the School of Education, and trying to provide the information that's been requested, everything from future budgets to future facility plans, grade levels, and things like that. So as soon as I hear something, I will be sure to tell you.
Thank you.
So, I know it is.
Appreciate
It has been very frustrating on definitely more parties than myself. I mean, just trying to figure out what to do and make plans for the future, and try to keep the focus because nobody likes to be in a situation of the unknown.
Right.
And it's just trying to keep the focus with our staff and everything. And, which we have great staff, so they're focused on kids. They're not worried about where they have to teach, but they would like to know where they're going to actually be.
Sure.
Quick question. So who are you waiting on? I mean, it's this big mysterious process. Who are you waiting on?
On the facilities?
Palestine, yeah.
So basically my communication goes through Dr. Sherman. And then Dr. Sherman has been in communication with the provost, and it's my understanding the provost will make a recommendation to the president.
Okay, so it's all university.
All university.
Got it. Thank you.
So all I've been asked for is a recommendation.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, so we can go into the superintendent report. Chestnut, do you have a financial update?
Just that we have received $2.9 million as of February 22nd, and then we spent 2.9 as well as of February 22nd.
give you guys a chance to look at that if you have any questions. So it still looks like we're going to have carryover in our fund balance. Yeah. Campus, district campus enrollment and attendance. Want to review that with you as well, just to give you an update. That's the second to the last page. As you can see, Tyler's currently a total of 272 students, Longview 220 students, and Palestine 189 students, with a total of 681 students. I will say that looking at the numbers, you will see that Palestine campus, we've lost students there, and I would say it's probably because of the facility issue and the unknowns. You know, parents just they're not sure if that's where we're going to remain, where will we move to. Again, it's just the unknown. Parents and community members want to know where their child's going to be. And so that has led to, and then given the situation that we've, our hands are tied in a lot of things that we can't do in that facility that we would have been able to do in the event that it was our facility. That has limited us in a lot of ways to support students. So it's been difficult. It's been difficult on teachers. You know, when you're given constraints to what you can do in a classroom, it's difficult for them to be able to do the things they need to do, as well as activities on the campus that you would normally have during a school year, celebrations and things that come to mind that you can't have because you're going to interrupt a college class, or you don't have the room to do it. It limits, which, you know, it has affected their enrollment for sure. Yeah. So.
Well, I
That's
want
where our
to say
decrease
that
is.
I've observed the staff, and in the midst of all of it, they've kept their heads up and done a great job.
Oh, absolutely.
And so kudos to
Yeah.
the
Very appreciative
staff
of
in
them.
Palestine.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really feel like I have left them down just because I can't give them a decision. You know, I have to look these individuals in the eye when they come and ask me what the plans are, or our director asks me what the plans are, a parent. I can't answer that, and I can honestly look at them and say at this time I've given all the resources and made a recommendation, but the recommendation is out of my hands, and parents don't oftentimes understand that. They think the superintendent's going to make that final decision, and they think I'm the one that's holding off on the decision, and I need to step up and make a decision, and I have to play politics here and make sure that they understand I'm not the one to make the decision. I can only give a recommendation, and it's been given for a while now. So
I would like to add one thing. The longer the decision takes, it starts to limit our options. I think that's a fair thing to say.
yeah, definitely the quicker that we can make a decision the better we can plan for sure. I mean, if we
So
can.
not making a decision is still making decisions for us.
Right.
And so if they don't make a decision, what happens to that campus? Like, where would they be?
Well, for example, renovations, if they don't start
Right.
soon,
Quickly.
it's not possible to finish them before school starts.
So then we're back
So
in
what
the
would
same
they get?
situation where we cannot recruit K through first grade students. We're already at this time only recruiting 3rd through 12th. We've even posted that we're not recruiting second grade students in the event that we were to stay put. We've agreed that we would not bring in another class of second graders, given the situation of them being on a college campus. So in the event the renovations can't take place in a timely manner so that they are completed by the start of the school year, then you're going to miss enrolling K through K1 and 2. That is hundreds of thousands of dollars.
So what I'm hearing is that you've got this sort of staged decay of this idea, stages of decay of an idea, right? And so has that been, has that been made clear in any sort of like letters, you know?
Very.
Everything has been made clear.
Okay, just,
Yeah.
you know, stages of decay.
Yes. Very clear.
Okay, thank you.
Attendance, I do want to compliment all 3 of the directors and the attendance clerks on each campus. You know, with the sickness, they have monitored that very closely, and our attendance has stayed relatively strong. But I think that they have done a great job of, in the event they saw that that attendance was decreasing, of contacting me and reaching out to those parents to find out if they're, if you know, what was the problem, so that we could stay on top of it. So luckily we didn't at this time have to close any of the campuses, but we did drop pretty low on one of the campuses that we had to monitor closely for a couple of days. Any
Flu shot
questions?
did not work this year.
All right, the next item that I have here is just the timeline. I just wanted to provide the board the enrollment admission timeline as we kick off spring. It also kicks off our enrollment process. And so as you can see here, in the event that you have specific questions, you can see that after spring break, when students return, we give out commitment letters. So every child that is enrolled in the Innovation Academy will get a letter, a commitment letter to go out. There's a process for them to return, to say either I'm returning to IA for the 2018-19 school year, or I'm not. And then you can see as follows everything that leads up to, in the event that we are overbooked, that we will have a lottery, and everything from summer hours to when the district is closed. So again, there is a timeline that we follow when looking at enrollment and admission for the fall of 2018-19. Everything's been posted on the website, so a parent can access an application, or they can come on campus to get one. That all that communication is going out to parents as well.
I have just one more question. So back to that other matter. So when, like, Danita asked, you know, what if there's no decision? So you've got a March 19th that the commitment letters go out. So we're in, 3 weeks, basically, 19 days between now and that, 18. So what do you have when? Like how late can this go? Is it already too late? I mean,
All of this information has been provided.
okay. And there is a date, and it's been provided.
All the information of the timeline for recruiting has been provided, and the
Okay.
timeline for offer letters and specifics has been provided.
Well, I meant like if there's no decision, you know.
They know the construction timelines, yes.
Right, okay.
So what happens if this date
I
comes
think we're
up?
approaching needing to use that session.
Yeah,
Yeah, it just feels so close that, you know.
yeah. So can we go into executive session after I finish
Yeah.
these items? Okay. All right. So looking at, we talked about enrollment and admission timeline. Again, in the event that a parent asks you about specifics, you have that. Campus benchmark data, I wanted to share with you the benchmark data. And so Jacqueline is going to, and Weaver are going to provide you with some information.
So what I've provided you is by campus and by district for the tests that we have benchmarked so far. We align our benchmark schedule exactly like the actual start dates. So all tests are given about 6 weeks prior to the date that it's administered from the state. So that's why we have very limited data so far.
If we have any students that miss taking their individual picture today, please come to the front office at this time. Anybody who was supposed to take an individual picture.
They need to understand what it means. Okay.
Thank you.
It's a whole new system.
Okay, so it is a whole new system. Sorry, I was waiting for that announcement to stop. So in the past, you know, we've always looked at this internally, but this year we're really just making it very transparent to all of our teachers. They understand this new system now. In the past, it was mainly you got a score for Index 1 for just passing, and that was the score that they looked at. Now you get a score in Domain 1 is what it's called, and it's based on the percentage of students that you have passed, and that's your first column, the APPR, it stands for approaches.
In the
Then you
future, it
get a
doesn't- it will be
percentage for
passing.
the students that actually
In the
meet
future.
the state standard for that grade level. That's the middle one. And then you get a percentage for the students that master it. So instead of just looking at, oh, we have this many pass, now we have to look at how many of our students approached, how many of our students met, and how many of our students mastered it. The state then gives you those are all percentages, by the way. The numbers underneath the approaches, meets, and masters are all percentages. But then the state then takes those three numbers, averages them, and gives you a final score in that domain. So those are the numbers underneath. And I put this together like this just because this is the language we're having with our teachers, is to constantly look at their data, not just how many kids passed, or the percentage of my kids that passed, but how many approached, how many met, and how many mastered. Because that's how we'll be graded on Domain 1, and then Domain 3 as well, which does the same system, but for your subgroups. So again, these are just the tests we've taken so far, and Brian does a really better job of explaining the whole system.
The one thing I would say, the approach is passing for now. When the system is fully implemented in how many years, Brian?
Well, the final goal is like 2030.
That every kid will meet or get masters. So what is passing now will not be passing in the future. Because they're raising the bar every year over the next 15 years. So under the old index, what we called passing that would not have been passing either under the new system. So
In the
We're
new
finishing
system,
up
it is
our
been
EOC
confirmed.
benchmarks this week, and then we finish our final round of all the other tests that we'll get next week. So we'll analyze that data when we return back to the grade.
the other question that comes up is the new system is an A through F system. And so how do you get an A? How do you get a B? They've already set the system up so it's almost impossible to get an A. So even last year where we had a campus on the approaches Index 1 where they got like 90-something%, that won't get you an A. It's your average of these three.
Approaches, meets, and mets. You
Okay.
average those and you have to be a 60 or above.
60 or above. What's a B? Do we know?
50. Well,
50.
they really technically haven't been set.
They haven't
That's
said
just what
that,
we're
but
going
we're
off
guessing.
based of right now. We're guessing.
And so last year in the trial run, we got Longview basically got the equivalent of an A. Palestine, you got what, the equivalent of a B? And Tyler got the equivalent of a C. Most school districts got the equivalent of a D.
And in this first year, only the district level will get a grade.
Right.
Campuses will know that internally, but it's not, the campuses will not get a grade. Only the district in this first year. Second year that we have campuses.
Even the standards for the new system have not been set, so everything's still
I think what's
pending.
important to say about the benchmark 2 data is, as she said, we do it 6 weeks out from the real test. It allows you that final formal look. We do it under testing conditions. We see what the kids are doing under exact testing conditions, under the same testing items from at least tests from the past. The teachers are able to now really kind of add that to their other data, and during the last 6 weeks, finalize their preparations, with the curriculum and those kids. So this is showing the growth moving towards that final test. And
on that note, you should put, there's questions that says they haven't covered yet.
right.
This is the
Oh,
full
yeah.
test.
You need to understand that they get the
Right.
full test.
Right.
And we're still not even.
We give it in the fall and they had almost none of it,
Right.
So there's still 6 weeks of instruction left here. So if you see something, you're like, "Whoa, don't panic."
They may not have covered that standard yet.
And so feel better. We are ahead of where we were last year. About saying, okay.
Ahead in some areas.
What is, on that first block under Tyler, that first row is the percent of students that approach from me.
Correct. The
What
fifth
does the
grade,
44 mean?
that is the
Average.
average of those 3 percentages, and that's how the state breaks down that domain. So they take all, the percentage of all your students that approached, all that met, all that masters, and they average those 3, and they give you a score. So that 44 is a score, but that's where it comes from.
Thank you.
So one way to look at it is right now we're passing and we're not, haven't even covered all the material yet. So that's a good thing.
We're really working on our needs and masters to try to get those.
Roughly speaking, those anything 40 and above would be a C.
Correct.
Anything 50 and above would be a B. Anything 60 and above would be an A already. And we
Already.
still have quite a bit of curriculum covered and quite a bit of instruction.
So this is an A.
Mhm.
Don't be alarmed, for instance, we look at things also like writing, 4th grade writing. If someone was just to look at like that as a layman, so to speak, they'd go, oh, they're not doing too good in writing. So we look at like state data, and you notice in the state, and we can pull out the very best students in the state. And it is the most suppressed data in the state. The 4th grade writing test is hard for anyone, anywhere to do well on. And so we look at that for what it's worth, apples to apples. Also, on the other end, U.S. history, oh, that's not on there either. But U.S. history just doesn't fit the normal pattern. And throughout the state, even with economically disadvantaged students, 95% pass and 50% master. So we don't expect to just do average there. We know if the state's doing really well, and we also ought to be not going to top out of that. So we look at every subject, every grade level relative to what we know performance looks like in the state and in other schools like that.
Any other questions, any other comments about the benchmark data?
I will note that this data has been given to teachers, but also broken down by students. So as a teacher, if I'm teaching 6th grade math, I know exactly how my students performed. I know what areas in which they struggled in specific standards, what areas are going to be heavily tested on the test, what areas need to be retaught, interventions are taking place. So very detailed when looking at the data. I mean, this is just an overview that you're being provided. But again, teachers have really dug deep into knowing exactly how each individual student is doing. Any other questions? The other thing that I have is we will be sending out some information on our annual board training. And so that date is we're trying to look at scheduling it very similar to we've done in the past, scheduling it on a board day that you're already scheduled to come. And so what we'll do is likely just have it that morning and go into our board meeting, finish up, and then I'll have online modules to complete. Dr. Jennifer Jones has agreed to do the training. So we are looking at our May board meeting. I think that is the 5th or 6th. I can't remember the date on that. Or the 3rd. Shouldn't have said. Yeah, you're
It's a
right.
single digit
Yeah,
number.
third.
First week.
Yeah, so the 3rd. And JMO will be sending out some specifics on that. Any other questions? Would the board like to,
Paper. What you said you were going to talk about, paper packets.
Oh, yes. So one initiative that the university has had recently is to look at moving towards paperless. And so one way to embrace that is that we talked about, because you do get a lot of these documents electronically, is trying to look at ways to support a more paperless board meeting. And so we talked about different options. Jamin, do you want to share what we've discussed and different things that we can look at?
Well, ideally, you would have a device to look at them while we're sitting here if you needed that. But then also just putting it all together in one big PDF and being able to have it up on the TV.
Well, that would be good.
Yeah.
Especially, technically we're open to the public, so if they came in and they didn't have a device, they would be able to see the forms being discussed. But we talked about, trying to have devices here for y'all to use, but then that kind of takes away from having them available for students and things. So ideally, if you had a device to bring it yourself, if for some reason you don't have a device, talk to us so that we can maybe get something for you specifically. But if you have a laptop, or a tablet or something, that would be great. to bring so that you can access them through your email or whatever. But if you need us to provide you something, let us know so we can have the tech team bring something when they bring the recording.
But we'll also have it.
And then, but we'll also try to put it up on this screen as well.
Just one way to save money, because I know oftentimes we utilize these during this time, but then after either you file them away or you have electronic copy of them. So it's just another way for us to, because this is, this comes out of our budget, our school budget, is printing.
The whole campus is doing a big, electronic push, paperless. They're really not printing very much. You can probably, most of you can attest to that. And so
when it's hard for me to push that on teachers when I'm passing out packets in a board meeting. So, I just got to practice what you preach too.
So we begin this next meeting.
Yeah.
Very good.
So just email us if you need us to be able to bring a device for you for the next meeting. Otherwise, if you could bring your own, that would be great.
And we can give you access to the internet if you needed it to pull up on your devices in the phone or whatever. At this time, you want to move into executive
let's
session?
go into executive session to talk about facilities.
Does somebody know how to turn off the recorder?
Yes.
Christian can.
Well, are you going to take minutes of your executive session?
Yes.
Sure, I will.
Envelopes.
Yep, I will. Oh, I need to handwrite them.
Oh, yeah. You're a board member.
Yeah,